Hello everyone, so today I'm going to do a bit of a different video and it's part of the Get Your Chic Together series, and I want to talk a bit about keeping your home in order, keeping your home clean and also decluttered, and some of the mindset around that and some tips in order for you to be able to do that. So what I want to start by saying is that I do think there is a real strong correlation between mental health and being able to keep your home clean and in order. So there is absolutely no judgment on this channel. Like, if you are not able to do that or you're not able to do it to the standard that you would like or whatever, there's no judgment here. Get your chic together. It's just a fun term that hopefully kind of maybe kicks you into action and think, yeah, I'm going to get my chic together. But I do really understand that correlation between those two things. And I would also say that if you know somebody who struggles with keeping their home in order, it's also just think, is there something else going on for that person? Because I often think, like, do you know that phrase, like, how what is it, tidy home, tidy mind, or something like that? It's like the internal comes out into the external. And so if someone's mind's a little bit chaotic or there's a lot going on, then it can kind of show up in the physical space. So I'm going to chat a little bit about that. So there's no judgment here. I'm just saying some of the things that I've learned this year and also some little tips. Maybe you might even be able to give me tips. In fact, that would be really helpful. I would really appreciate that. Now, I'm looking off to my left because I have this all came to me last night and I had just had like a stroke of like getting this all out. So I've got this on a screen here. I'm not going to read it from this word for word, but hopefully it'll keep me on track as I'm chatting through some of this. Right, so the first point I want to make is actually just around keeping your home in order and keeping your home clean and the mindset around that. Now, this is quite hard for me to admit, but I think it's actually true. And I think this might be the case for a lot of people, maybe more so for women, but I'm not sure. I actually always used to feel like I would approach cleaning from a place of like self-judgment and also like I was being judged, almost like kind of like the male gaze type thing, like I'm doing it for the male gaze, not specifically male, but do you know what I mean? Where it's a bit like, oh, what would the neighbours think if like they came in here right now and they saw this mess? So I would always feel like I was doing it out of like, I should have a clean house, I should have this in order. Oh, my parents are coming to visit, I need to have my house clean. Rather than ever feeling like I want the house to be clean for me and doing it for myself because it's a nicer environment to live in, if that makes sense. And this year I feel like now I've got into a lot more self-care routines. I've probably talked a little bit about this on some of my vlogs. I do feel like this is an act of self-care and you can take real pride and also pleasure in the act of cleaning and keeping things tidy, because it's kind of like, it's not like the false dopamine hits that you get from like other things. It's like it really does just make you feel better and you feel more calm in your environment, and it also helps you to live that sort of more elevated luxury life without having to go out and spend hundreds of pounds on something. Which brings me to my next point. I think when it comes to this sort of whole concept of cleaning and keeping your house in order, I think there can be a bit of a mindset, and I'm going to just make sure I get all of my points or my notes here about this, is this idea of the house. If you're going to start cleaning and doing a lot more cleaning, things like that, it's like this whole idea of like more consumption. And I think a lot of this does come from online. So rather than actually thinking, right, I'm going to actually start cleaning and getting my house in order, people then go out shopping and buy all these cleaning products, and even like sometimes like storage boxes and things like that. And like maybe from IKEA, because they're going to get things in order. Well, I can tell you now, you can clean most of your house with fairy liquids, a bleach, probably some kind of glass cleaner, and I personally quite like furniture polish. Like, that's like your basics. You do not need to go out to B&M's, Home Bargains or whatever. I love those shops, by the way, but you don't need to go and fill a trolley with all the new like Fabulosas, all the new Stacey Solomon range or whatever. We don't have to like get into this mindset that every time we're going to start something or try something or have a new routine that we have to then consume as part of that. Most of what I've just said about free liquid stuff, I'll guarantee you probably have that in your cupboard already. So we don't need to be consuming more to start this. And in actual fact, I think a lot of the reason that people aren't able to keep their home in order or keep it clean is actually down to the fact that we need to do a bit of decluttering. Now, I went through this process over the summer. I actually thought it was going to take an afternoon, and it took probably the best part of the summer to actually declutter this house. And I'm just a normal person with an average amount of stuff. I don't have loads of stuff, but I had quite a lot of things that I needed to get rid of. So that's where like minimalism can come into this and kind of help as well. That I've talked about this on my channel before, but every time you bring something into your house, whether it's something from Vinted, it's something from a charity shop, it's something from Marks and Spencer's, B&M, wherever, that item, whether it's clothing or it's interior, whatever, seasonal decor is a big one, that is going to take up space in your home. And it's now renting space off of you. And you're going to have to look after that item in some form, and you're going to have to clean it in some form. You're going to have to move it around. If it's seasonal decor, you're going to have to store it away until the next time you need to bring it out, all of that. So I would say that you need to, one, start with the decluttering process and be quite ruthless in this process of just getting rid of things that just don't have a space for you anymore. It will clear the space. It clears like your kind of mental load. You don't know how much this stuff is actually weighing on you until you start to get rid of it. That's a big thing. And it just sort of creates space for new things to come into your environment. I don't mean new physical items, by the way. I just mean like new life, new opportunity, new airflow and all of that sort of thing as well. One thing that I did over the summer during like part of this process is I actually watched the Sort Your Life Out, I think it's called Sort Your Life or Get Your Life Together series on the BBC with Stacey Solomon. I don't think there was really anything in that show that was particularly groundbreaking or novel, but I do think that just sort of surrounding myself with that sort of thinking and seeing the process did kind of just help to inspire me a little bit. And also it gave me something that, like, I was going through that process, so it was giving me something to relate to. Like I say, I don't think the program itself is particularly groundbreaking, but I do think it's just quite nice, like as an inspiration one. The other book that's quite good to read is the Marie Kondo book. I think it's called The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. I read it years ago, so I didn't read it again as I went through this process this year. But I do think that it's worthwhile just having a look through that if you've never read that before. So go through things, get rid of things, start sorting that out. Also, don't feel like, oh, I'm going to start sorting things out. This comes back to my old point about consumption. Don't think, oh, I'm going to sort my life out and so I'm going to go to IKEA and buy more storage boxes and I'm going to buy all this storage. It's not the storage. You don't need another hook. You don't need another box. Honestly, you just need to actually get rid of the stuff. I know that's hard to hear, but it's actually true. Now, the other thing is, when it comes to this, is you can kind of then get into this mindset of thinking, oh, am I going to be a minimalist? Now, for me, I think minimalism, I don't really feel resonates entirely with me, because when I think of minimalism, I think of everything being black and white and beige. I think about not having more than one of every item or whatever. It doesn't need to be as extreme as that. It's just like stopping this overconsumption where then things are like building up in your house. So like you'll see this when I do like show you like what's in my makeup bag, or I show you what toiletries I'm using or whatever. I kind of just use things up and then I like wait until I've used that up until I buy the next item. Even if I don't love the product, I think, I've committed to it now, so I'm going to have to use that again. So that's like something just to keep things in order, of not just buying things all the time. Right, so I'm going to give you some of my little tips here on how to actually like keep your house in order. So the first one being is, if you ever work from home or you get the chance to work from home, this is a big one for me. I actually use my lunch breaks when I work from home to do cleaning. So my lunch breaks are 1 hour long, and then I just use about 40 minutes to clean specific areas of my house. That kind of means that everything's not then piling up into the weekend, so it just then kind of keeps on top of stuff throughout the week. I know not working from home is not an option for everyone, but just if you do get to work from home, make a point of doing that. It also, when I'm at home, I feel like it keeps me physically active, so I'm not just like slouched into my chair all day. I like get to like move around and do stuff or whatever. So that's one of them. What's the next one I had? Oh yeah, this one. I never go upstairs empty-handed in my house, and I never come back downstairs empty-handed in my house. So this just keeps things flowing around the house. So, I'll take laundry upstairs with me, and then anything that needs to come down from maybe my bathroom area, I bring that down. So anytime I'm upstairs, I come back down with something, and if I'm going upstairs, I take something up with me as well. It's something that I've actually stuck to quite well, like the whole time I've lived in this house, and I think it's a good rhythm. Um, Also, it stops things from stagnating. And speaking of stagnating, something that I did this year was I got rid of my kitchen bin. Um, so I don't actually have a bin in my house, which I don't know if that's quite shocking to people, but I felt as a person living on my own, I just felt like I was filling the bin till it was full, like it was a family-sized bin, and it would obviously take quite a while for that bin to get full because I'm one person living here on my own. So it meant things were in that bin for quite some time. And I just thought, yeah, it just didn't feel very hygienic. So I just got rid of it. And what I do now is I have a little carrier bag at my front door. So if I go to M&S and I bring home one of their paper bags, or if I've been swimming and my swimming costume is in a wet kit bag or whatever, I'll just use that bag as like my little rubbish bag for the day. And then I just literally keep the bag at my front door, and then I take it out every single morning. And it just means there's not rubbish lying around the house. Um, the only exception to that is if like there's something that in like that I'm cooking or something and it needs to go out right away, then I would obviously just take it outside in the moment. But on the whole, most of the time it's just stuff that can go out the next day, and I just keep the bag, and I also make sure the bag's small so it's not a big bin liner of things like that needs to be filled up. Just a small little bag, and then I just take it out every single day. The other thing I was going to say, and this is a big one for me personally, is that I like this is one I'm quite particular about actually, is when it comes to my bedroom, I would never have a bed that is like built to the ground. And I would also never have a bed that has underbed storage. Like, it's just my absolute pet peeve. For me, when you're sleeping, your space has to have lots of air in there. The air has to flow around the room. I also don't store a lot of stuff in my bedroom, full stop. But I would never ever store anything under my bed. No storage boxes, no spare pillows, no spare bedding, towels. Some people put suitcases under their bed or whatever. That is just not for me. Literally, I cannot even have one crumb under the bed. Like, I need to get everything out and everything moving. The air has to flow around the room at all times. And when it comes to my bedroom, as I say, I keep what I've got in there to an absolute minimum. I have one bedside table with my clock on there, and that's it. And it keeps it very easy to clean so that the surfaces can get wiped very easily without having to move things around. And then I have my built-in wardrobes again, which I keep very tidy. Everything's hanged up in there, and there's just not a lot of stuff in that room, full stop. That is like a big one for me. The other one I was going to say is also keeping your cleaning products actually in each room. So for me personally, like each room in this house has a microfiber cloth, a little kind of scrubber sponge, fairy liquid and bleach. And so it just means that whenever I'm thinking, this needs a little wipe down or whatever, I'm never kind of then rummaging around other rooms, like trying to find cloths and things like that. I just keep them in there. I keep the products in there. I keep things to hand, and then everything's clean all the time. And that actually is the same with like, with my bathroom upstairs. I just, once I've like brushed my teeth and everything in the morning, I literally just swoosh the sink around with some fairy liquid and some hot water, and that keeps that clean. The other one that's quite good to do is like your shower screen. Some people have a curtain, but I've got like a glass screen. Fairy liquid and a scrub with that. If you do that like maybe 3 times a week, it just stops any kind of like that kind of like lime scaly thing building up. And then that way you're never in a position where you're trying to scrub that off. Which is why I think if you just do cleaning like little and often, rather than waiting to doing these big deep cleans at the weekend or once a month, things are never really that dirty where you're having to actually scrub at things, if that makes sense, because you've just kept it clean as you went. So that's quite a big one. The other one for me, I've talked about this on my channel before, and this is part of the cleaning process, and I do appreciate that this is not something that is accessible to everybody, but I do like to have things hanged outside. So whenever I do a load of washing, I do like to hang it outside on my whirligig, because I do think that things being aired properly is part of the cleaning process, and I don't really like things getting damp in the house and then getting that damp smell, but also potentially mold as a result of that as well. So whenever I can, today's a dry day, I'll just get things hanged outside. And There is no better feeling than, you know, when you just like put new fresh bedding on and you know it's been outside. It's just totally different from relying on your tumble dryer all the time as well. The other one I was going to say, this is quite a good one actually. A few years ago, I invested in a worktop, what do you call it, countertop dishwasher, and it doesn't require any plumbing. I did all of this myself. I just plugged it into the wall and then just put the hose thing into my sink in my kitchen. And it just means that I've never got dishes lying in my sink. Everything goes into the dishwasher, and then I put the dishwasher on about 9 o'clock at night when I'm about to go to my bed, and then that's on, and then I empty it in the morning. So I just, again, keep that all flowing as well. The other thing that I did this year, this is an organisation one, is I got rid of all my old pots, like my cooking pots, and I got these stackable pots from Amazon where the handle detaches. So because the handle detaches, they all stack into each other, which means they actually all go into my dishwasher because there's not any long awkward handles like sticking out the side of them. And it also means the cupboard's so much tidier because I don't have things all kind of, you know, uneven and like, you know, clattering around in there. Everything stacks in. So if you do have a chance to get those kind of pots, I would really, really recommend them. So that's just some of my little cleaning tips and how I sort of keep my home in order. But I really think it's little and often, just keeping on top of surfaces. And then when it comes to like weekends, you can just get to those bigger jobs that you would not manage to get to through the week. But I do think part of this is stopping overconsumption, getting into the decluttering. And one thing I'll just end this on is, because I think people forget this actually, buying something from Vinted, buying something from a charity shop is still consumption. Just because it's secondhand and we're feeding into this whole sustainability thing does not mean that it's not like just still destroying the planet and destroying your headspace and your space. You know, you still have to look after it. It's still got to have got here in some form. You've had to use a courier or whatever for it to get here. So just because it's secondhand or you're getting it from Vinted doesn't mean that you can then or you should over consume on those things. So just be mindful of that as well. So anyway, that's some of my tips. I would really love to hear some of your tips because I'm really enjoying getting my chic together, especially when it comes to my home. And if you have any specific ones, little like really like nice little nuggets, it would be great for you to share them, not just with me, but for everybody else in the comments as well. So yeah,